How's it going, guys? Very happy to have Heidi with us here again today. She's going to be talking to us about tourist visa. And know a number of you have asked about how to get business formations going as well. So stay tuned. Great to have you back, Heidi.
Happy to be here, John.
Thank you so much. So tell us more about who needs a visa in the Philippines.
So there's actually 146 countries that can come to the Philippines visa-free, and there are about 20 that need a visa to come here to the Philippines. What are those 146? I can't tell you because this would be a long video if I can tell you. For those who are in the 146 that come to the Philippines visa-free, when you arrive, you will get a stamp that's valid for 30 days, and then you can extend it, which we'll talk about later. And then for the other 20 countries that need a visa to the Philippines, you need to go to the nearest Philippine embassy in your country, and then you can get a visa from there before you come to the Philippines.
Okay. So is there a standard length how long that first visa is, or does it depend on the country?
Mm-hmm. So it actually depends on the country, but standard, if you are part of those 146 countries that have visa-free entry to come to the Philippines, you can stay in the Philippines for up to 3 years. But not like they won't stamp you for 3 years, right? So first is you get 30 days. First extension is another 30 days. And then on your second extension, you can either get a 2-month extension and then a 6-month extension. So the 2-month extension, you can do it at any Bureau of Immigration office. But the 6-month extension you can only do in Bureau of Immigration in Manila. So the maximum a foreigner can stay here in the Philippines is actually 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's other type of cards that you get, for example, a ACRI card, I believe it's called. What's that for?
So the ACRI card is basically your Alien Certificate of Registration. So it's basically an ID. You get it upon your second extension. So that's the 2 months. That is your identification here in the Philippines. That's for immigration to monitor you, basically. So it will have your address, your details, your name, your birthday, your age, just for immigration to monitor where you are. And fun fact, if you change your address from the one that you declared on your ACRI card, you have to do an amendment at immigration. Or else, once you file reports, they will ask you about you actually moved to another place, why are you doing your extension here? So it's best to have that updated all the time.
Got it. So you mentioned that people could stay here up to 3 years. So after 3 years, say that you want to stay for longer, what's the process?
If you want to stay for longer, you need to exit the country and come back again so that you can restart your visa. But if you want to stay longer while you're on your tourist visa, then I would suggest getting a valid visa. If you're staying beyond the 3 years and you don't want to leave the Philippines, then get a valid visa.
Okay. So by valid visa, what do you mean?
Valid visa meaning the 9G, 13A, so the non-immigrant or immigrant visas that are available to the Philippines depending on your qualifications.
Okay. So for some people leaving, they need to get a exit clearance. When do people need to get that?
So if you've stayed in the Philippines for 6 months, you actually need to acquire an ECC, or it's an immigration exit clearance. You get that, basically the ideal is 2 weeks before your flight. If you need to leave abruptly, it would be best to have your flight details attached to your application so that you will be prioritized. The ECC is valid for 1 month. So within that 1 month, you can leave the country. If you've stayed here for 6 months, it's best that you get this so you won't have any problems exiting the country.
Okay. So I've actually heard of people not getting the exit clearance and then not being able to actually leave. Is that true, or just...
Yes, that's true. Immigration will very much stop you from leaving. But there is actually a one-stop shop immigration office at the airport in Manila.
Okay.
So you can actually go to them and get your exit clearance. But just to be safe, the ideal is for you to prepare that exit clearance before leaving the country. Yeah, and flights, very important because you will get priority. Normally it takes a few days or like 1 day to get approved if you're in Manila. But if you're applying from any other place other than Manila, it takes a few days.
Okay.
Yeah.
So with exit clearance, it's if you've been here 6 months or more, that's when you need it.
Yes.
6 months and under, you don't have to worry about it?
You don't have to worry about it.
Okay. So these are all clear rules, but what about for those that accidentally or whatever the reason is overstay, what happens in that situation?
Yeah, so if you've actually reached the maximum 3-year mark here in the Philippines and you have overstayed for, let's say, 6 months to 1 year more, you would need to file an overstay application for overstaying or a motion for reconsideration to explain why you've overstayed in the Philippines. So normally, if you want to stay longer, like you don't want to leave the country because, I don't know, you have a family, you have a business, you have ties here in the Philippines and you do not wish to leave the country, you can do a motion for reconsideration. So a motion for reconsideration is basically telling immigration why they need to allow you to stay in the Philippines. So if this is approved, you get about 120 days to figure out how you can convert your tourist visa into a valid visa. So when you overstay, sometimes people are scared, like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? Am I gonna get deported? The best way to tackle that problem is just to file the paperwork that you need to file so that you're in the safe space, right? So once your MR is approved, in that 120 days, you have to figure out what are the visa types that you can that you qualify for, just to fix the situation. Yeah.
Okay. So that would be if you stay longer than 3 years?
Yes, longer than 3 years.
So what about if somebody was supposed to renew their visa after the 1 month or after another 2 months, whatever it is, and they don't do that on time? What happens in those smaller case situations?
If it's less than 6 months, chances are you would just have to pay a penalty.
Okay.
So for you to avoid your penalty, it's just really best to update your visa on the day or at least a week before it expires, so that you don't have to pay for hefty penalties. In instances like, let's say for example, your tourist visa is valid until March 15, and then it would not make sense for you to renew it, right? Because if you renew it for another month, there's no sense, and then you're leaving on the 17th. What happens there is you will be paying a penalty at the airport.
Okay.
Yeah, but there's no problem in terms of that as long as you just keep your visa updated.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So I've also had one of my subscribers reach out and left a comment on one of the last videos that you did with us. And they were telling us some information about your company. So let me just read what they had to say. So this is Bart. He said, "Hey John, great interview as always. Thanks, Bart. I'm using CNG, Heidi's company, to do the thankless task of in-processing me. They've been great so far. They communicate well, they're upfront with what the fees and timelines are, and they are punctual. Heidi has a great staff that is on top of things in a way that a fam couldn't possibly be. My own experiences with the government offices here have generally been pleasant enough, at least here in Cebu, but the system is Byzantine in ways a Westerner can't even imagine, so having her team coordinate things is well worth the expense." So very well done. It's always great for people on the channel to be able to get more information about how to do things, but it is really hard to find great companies that are able to take care of tasks like this. So people watching my channel know I pretty rarely have people on my channel that are doing other tasks that I would recommend, but well done on helping others out with a pretty painful task for us foreigners out here.
Oh, thanks, John, and thanks, Bart. I haven't met him yet, but I know he's getting one of our services. So hopefully, at some point in the process, I'll be able to meet you.
Me as well, Bart. Come say hi to me as well. So, yeah, he's a great guy. We've talked about connected for a long time online, but it's time for us to all meet you, Bart. So Heidi, really great as always to have you on the channel. Thanks again for coming, sharing more information.
Yeah. Hopefully next time we can talk about the business formation, because I think that would be very beneficial to your audience.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So guys, if you have any questions for Heidi and her company about all things visas or business formation, make sure and check out the links below and say hi to her from the bald guy here in Cebu. And as always, guys, thank you so much for taking the time to watch. Take care.